صباح الخير جميعا. نرحب بكم مجددا في اليوم الثاني لأعمال الندوة المحلية التي ينظمها الاتحاد وبعنوان المعيار الدولي للتقرير المالي عقود التأمين IFRS 17 التي ينظمها الاتحاد الأردني لشركات التأمين تحت رعاية معالي محافظ البنك المركزي الأردني. في هذا اليوم نستكمل فعاليات هذه الندوة التي قام الاتحاد بمنح فرصة لممثلي شركات الحلول التكنولوجية سوفت وير المتواجدين معنا، وعددهم 6 شركات من شركات بيج فور، عدد من شركات الحلول التكنولوجية في الأردن ودول عربية وعالمية، لعرض برامج السوفت وير وعرض ديمو لنظام التطبيق الإلكتروني لمعيار 17 الخاصة بهم. كما ننوه مرة أخرى إلى أنه قد تم تخصيص مكان خارج القاعة بكل مندوبي وممثلي شركات الحلول التكنولوجية لإمكانية التواصل معهم والالتقاء معهم والاستفسار أكثر عن هذه البرامج وتسهيل إمكانية عقد اجتماعات جانبية للتباحث والتفاوض والاستفادة من هذه الخدمات والبرامج بأكبر قدر ممكن. كما نرجو أن ننوه أنه سيكون هناك تحليل ومقارنة لهذه الأنظمة الإلكترونية والعروض الاستثمارية من الشركات بتطبيق المعيار IFRS 17 من ناحية مالية وفنية، والتي سيتناولها الأستاذ إبراهيم مهنا في ختام هذه الندوة. أرجو أن أؤكد على أمر أيضا على أن كل شركة سيتم منحها 35 دقيقة بما فيها عرض البرنامج السوفت وير، أيضا الإجابة عن الاستفسارات، وسيتم إنهاء هذه الندوة قبل دعوة الغداء. في حال وجود أي استفسارات يتم التباحث فيما بين شركات التأمين مع ممثليها خارج القاعة. الآن سنبدأ فعاليات هذا اليوم الثاني. اسمحوا لنا أن نرحب بكل من السيد فادي فاخوري، السيد فرحان خورشيد، والسيد علاء قرعين من شركة وممثلي PwC ليقوموا بعرض نظام الإلكتروني لمعيار 17.
صباح الخير، كيفكم؟ تمام؟ طيب بسرعة شديدة، أنا اسمي فادي فاخوري، أنا مسؤول عن قسم الريسك مانجمنت بالأردن، وعشان الوقت رح نبلش دايركت السوفت وير. بس بدي أحكي شوية، خلينا أحكي الفيتشرز اللي بتمتع فيها السوفت وير اللي بتقدمه PwC. أول شيء بتوقع هذا شيء كثير مهم للجميع، رح يكون في عدة لغات، والأهم لغة اللي إحنا نطلع لها هو العربي، فهو البرنامج تبعنا بيقدم الحل في العربي وبالإنجليزي أكيد، بس إذا حدا عنده مشكلة أكيد رح تكون بالعربي. والشيء المهم الثاني هو for sure 100% compliant مع IFRS 17 tested so many times من PwC globally. واهم شيء باخذ كل الهيدك تبع التكنيكال او تبع الاي تي وتبع الاكاونتنج تكنيكال. You don't need to be really worried about how to apply IFRS 17 للشركة. We have a very constant consultation أي وقت بدكم. It's a web-based software تقدر تستخدمه من أي مكان، مش شرط تكون في مكان محدد. شيء كمان جميل، PwC جوردن هم البوينت اوف كونتاكت لإلكم، هم حلقة الوصل لهذا السوفت وير، فبدكم أي شيء من الأردن نقدر نساعد فيه. والشيء المهم واللي أنا بحب دائما أنوه عليه، المعيار هذا مش راح يضله ثابت كما هو، راح يصير عليه ابديت زي اي معيار ثاني. السنه الجايه راح يصير عليه ابديت والبيدي بعديها، فبدك شركه تواكب هاي التغييرات اللي بتصير في المعيار وتعدل على السوفت وير او البرنامج عشان يضلوا 100% compliant tested من شركه كبيره زي PwC. بتخيل هدول من اهم الامور اللي بتمتع فيها نظامنا. والشيء الحلو كمان فيه انه هو سهل الاستعمال، يعني بدكش كثير وقت لتتعود عليه، بس definitely احنا will take all this خليني احكي هيدك واحنا will do the generating data on behalf of الشركات. رح نعرض لكم هلا فيديو بس هيك نحكي شويه خايف الفيديو هو 3 دقائق بس هيك تشوفوا المين فيتشرز اللي كنا بنحكي فيها وتشوفوا ايش هو
Taking effect from the 1st of January 2023, IFRS 17 fundamentally changes how insurers account for their insurance contracts. This requires an overhaul of the entire financial reporting process. The right technology solution is critical for a successful IFRS 17 implementation. Most insurers are considering purchasing an IT solution from a vendor. Unfortunately, sophisticated IT solutions come with significant costs, while more cost-effective solutions may not be as robust, thereby increasing compliance risk and adding ongoing frictional costs. But what if you could overcome these challenges with a best-in-class IT solution with ongoing support from an unrivaled global IFRS 17 implementation leader? Introducing PwC's IFRS 17 Managed Service. PwC's IFRS 17 Managed Service has been developed by our global accounting and actuarial experts who know the new insurance standard inside out. The service is run by our IFRS 17 experts on a cloud-based IT solution that is best in class, pre-built, fully configured, fully compliant, and independently tested. This makes it cost-effective and easy to implement and integrate with your current systems, delivering instant capability to produce IFRS 17 results. Most importantly, our solution frees up your people to focus on running your business and servicing your clients, instead of being distracted by the challenges of implementing a complex new IT solution. Let's take a deeper look at our solution. It can be run in 4 easy steps. Step 1. Access the system via a secure web portal. Step 2. Generate and populate data templates. Step 3. Upload data templates. Step 4. Download the complete set of journals, chart of accounts, financial statements and disclosures. Through PwC's Managed Service, insurers will have continued access to local and international PwC actuarial and accounting experts who will not only support you with resolving issues, but will also help you boost your knowledge with our comprehensive IFRS 17 methodology logs, audit trail, and insights. No longer do you need to recruit a team of IFRS 17 resources. We will support you through each stage of the journey, from inputs to results, giving you and your stakeholders confidence and control. Change can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Get in touch to find out how our managed service can simplify IFRS 17 and accelerate your implementation.
شيء مهم حكى الفيديو. I guess هذا شيء كثير شركات خايفة منه، إنه what if دربنا واحد وبتعرفوا بعد ما يتدرب أخذوه برا وببرا الأردن راح على الريجن، شو بصير فينا؟ البرنامج بحميك إنه فيش داعي يكون حدا عندك حتى اكسبرت لا تقلق من الموضوع إذا هذا راح شو راح أعمل بعدين بالنظام تبعي أو كيف بقدر generate a report. It's gonna be all handled by PwC من A to Z. راح أترك المجال زميلي فرحان بس يشرح شوية ويعطيكوا ديمو عن السيستم. فرحان؟
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our second day of IFRS 17. So yesterday was obviously about scaring you with the complexity of the IFRS 17 standard. Hopefully today we can offer you some solutions to maybe ease your minds before we head into the weekend. But while I want to use this time to show you PwC's solution, what I also want to do is spend a little bit of time answering some questions that some of you had yesterday, because some of you felt, the question basically was, what is the purpose of the IFRS 17 calculation engine? What will the software actually be doing? So I thought I'd spend just before I start demoing the solution and presenting to you what the solution, PwC's solution is, I thought I'd just spend a little bit of time just explaining to you where does any IFRS 17 solution fit into your overall financial reporting process. So what I've done here is just created a very simple flowchart to basically show you what is this IFRS 17 calculation engine actually meant to be doing. So at the start here, first and foremost, you've got your policy level data. So this is all the data that's coming from your current policy admin systems. So your premiums, commissions, end date, start date, end date, etc. That combined with any assumptions that you need to apply. So things like your loss ratios, premium earning patterns, premium receipt patterns, claim patterns, and so on. The new element here again is there's a number of policy choices that are available under IFRS 17. Again, those need to be made upfront. Once you've done all of that, that is the initial setup. That makes your initial input data. Then on an ongoing basis, you need to extract your actual cash flows. So on a quarterly basis, let's say you're doing quarterly reporting, you will need to extract what is your quarterly cash receipts from premiums, what are the claims paid, what are the expenses paid, commissions paid, etc. All of that together forms what we tend to call the actuarial cash flows. And this sort of aggregated view at a policy level is what goes into your IFRS 17 calculation engine. Now at this point, you also need to, involve your actuaries. This is where the actuary will also be inputting their information from a reserving perspective. There's no concept of IBNR, but you still have expected cash outflows and so on that need to be assessed at each quarter. Those are the inputs then that go into your IFRS 17 calculation engine. And what the calculation engine is meant to do is what we were discussing yesterday. So if you remember, we talked about the LFRC or LRC, liability for remaining coverage, and the liability for incurred claims. So the calculation engine will take all of these cash flows and the input data that you've given it, and it will calculate for you your expected cash flows, your discounting, your risk adjustment, and effectively, if it's a general model that you're following, it will calculate all the building blocks for you. Let's say that's at the start of the year. Then on an ongoing basis, the system will effectively amortize things like your CSM, amortize and release your risk adjustment, discounting, etc. to your P&L on an ongoing basis. So that's the purpose of the IFRS 17 calculation engine, first and foremost. Once it does all the calculations, the output from that should feed into your financial statements and your disclosures. And also, if you'll be holding the entries in your general ledger, then it should give you the chart of accounts and the journals, so the debits and credits that you need to add to your general ledger. Okay? I might just stop there for 1 second and see if there's any questions on this before I move on to PwC's IFRS 17 solution.
Yeah. One question that you have the models for, let's say, risk adjustments and discount rates, or when we're looking about calculations here and about aggregate levels at each portfolio. So do you have the modules for calculating, adopting actuarial statistical models regarding risk adjustments and discount rates or down?
Yeah. So it's a good question. So In terms of models, I guess it depends on every software. So if we take discount rate, for example, different softwares will have yield curves, for example, data that can go in and calculate your discount rates over a period of time. I don't know if every software does. I would expect that they should, because that's the purpose of your IFRS 17 calculation engine. Similarly, sorry, what was the other part? The discounting and risk adjustment. Again, risk adjustment is what we've seen in the market is certain softwares do have the capability to calculate your risk adjustment as well. So there are some standard approaches that you can take. So, you know, cost of capital or statistical models and other qualitative models as well. Whereas there are other IFRS 17 calculation engines that do not have the risk adjustment module. So the expectation is that your actuary, for example, will support you in calculating that risk adjustment. So it's very much dependent on you know, the different systems.
Do you have a new system?
In PwC system, we do have both capabilities, yes.
And for any new, let's say, risk adjustments, let's say, there are tens of, you know, based on the consultant's recommendation, they want to adopt something new or additional
Yeah.
risk
So I guess,
the ability to adjust.
yeah. So I guess to answer your question, there's some, as you said, there's hundreds of ways to do this, right? So obviously there's some standard approaches that PwC has built into the software that you may select. However, if you decide later that that approach is not for you and actually you want to adopt a different approach, there's a few options that are there in the system. However, obviously the risk adjustment is very specific to companies, and so you can't really create a standard approach for all companies.
For each aggregate
Yeah.
portfolio.
Yeah. Okay. So as the video said, our software. So I guess just one clarification before I jump into and talk about what the software is going to do. So PwC's solution is not just the software. So for us, the software is just a tool that will be used by PwC's experts to run your IFRS 17 calculations for you. So what we are actually offering is a managed service, right? And as Fadi mentioned, the point here is not just that there's a system that does your calculations, that's just one part, but the key component and the key differentiator for our service is that if there's any issues with your calculations, PwC experts are there to help you resolve those issues. If there's any questions from the auditors, from the board, from any other stakeholders, PwC experts are available to answer those questions for you. That's the purpose of our managed service. Now, as we said in the video, since we do want to talk about what the software can do as well, our software is designed to be simple and easy to use. And as we said, it can be run in 4 easy steps. So you go onto the system, you download some templates, you update the templates with your company data, you upload them back onto the system runs some checks, makes sure that there's no validation errors, there's consistency between the data that you've entered. It then runs the calculations. Once the calculations run, obviously this is all happening in the background. Once the calculations are run, it then again does some reasonableness checks, some validations to make sure that the results that are coming out are consistent, they make sense. And once that is done, that's where then the PwC managed service kicks in again. So the output from the system is what is looked at by PwC experts to see, do the numbers actually make sense for the company? Again, this is this is all new. IFRS 17 is new to everyone. So PwC's experience from having done this, we can analyze the numbers. We've done a number of financial impact assessments already. For example, we can analyze the numbers and we can see if the numbers make sense. Once that is done, we confirm that those numbers are checked. You can download your results, and what the output is that we give you. You get all your journal entries and your granular chart of accounts. So this can be uploaded into your general ledger, and I'll show you what that looks like. We give you a full income statement and a balance sheet for your IFRS 17 technical results. and we give you all the IFRS 17 required disclosure tables. And finally, we've also thought about the fact that any IFRS 17 solution will need to be audited by your auditors. So we make sure that we give you a full audit trail of all the calculations that have happened, and all the outputs that we give you can be fully audited independently by your auditor. And as I said, once you've got all of that, again, if you've got any questions, if you've got any issues, you come to PwC, we help you answer those questions. Okay. I'll switch now to our software. So as you can see, the software is again designed to be, the user interface is designed to be simple and to be able to run in a user-friendly format. So as the video said, you start by uploading data. Right, so if I click on upload, hopefully the internet is going to work. Okay. Now here, it asks you what data you want to upload. Now before I upload the data, I'm just going to show you what is the data that we will be using for the purposes of this, for this demo. Okay. So we've deliberately produced data, which hopefully most of you will be familiar with. So in the policies, this is policy level data. We've basically created 20 policies. You'll see here, they're all in the motor portfolio. Some of them, again, to show you, demonstrate to you the results, we put them as non-onerous. Some of them we put as onerous. And we've given the inception dates, the termination dates, and the written premium for the policies. So this is all data, but most of this data is what we expect to be in your system already. I guess the key missing field from your systems will be the identification or the marker to identify what is an onerous contract and what isn't an onerous contract. So this, if you remember, I said this was the initial policy level data that we need. Once you've got that, the second element is what we talked about are the assumptions. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out for you. Hopefully that's still readable, sort of. Okay, so here, again, just demonstrating to you what are the kinds of assumptions that we will need to, you need to apply. So things like the claims ratios, your premium ratios, expense ratios, etc. We also have, for the purposes of calculating the risk adjustment, in here we've just applied a simple shock approach for calculating the risk adjustment. From a patterns, again, we've got a number of options for you to select your patterns. Now here, again, for simplicity, what we've said is the pattern is pretty simple. For pattern 1, which is what we apply to most of your cash flows, they're expected to be received at the start of the policy period, whereas your claims payment patterns are expected to be, over a period of time, running all the way up to, 26, 32 months. Okay. And finally, you've got your yield curves. This is the information that will be used for the purposes of your discounting. Okay. So this forms your initial input into your calculation. Now at this point, you've really got two options. The PwC software can take this data and convert it into the actuarial cash flows. Or in some cases, companies might also look at trying to do that externally with your actuary, for example, and producing the group level cash flows, and then using that for the purposes of the calculation. For now, I'll just show you how the PwC software does it. So, as I said, you're going to upload, you identify the motor data, open, click submit. So the solution gives you a unique ID for every run that the system does. You can check the progress, you can see all the different runs that you've done. Again, you can click on this to see what were the calculations, when was it done, full audit trail, who did it, etc. Now the output of this is what you see here, which is a result IFRS 17 solved conversion. This file is effectively taking your policy level data and aggregating it into groups for the purposes of your IFRS 17 calculations. Okay? So again, I'm just going to go back. And now that you've got the cash flows at a aggregated group level, we're going to re-upload those cash flows into the system. So let me just find the right files. Okay. So as you'll see, really the input into the system was the first file. The second file is created by the system, which is aggregating and grouping your cash flows. Again, you can check the progress, you can see if the run was completed successfully, when it was done, etc. Now at this point, the cash flows have been imported into the system, so you can now start working on these inside the system itself. Now what does that mean? You can go into your the next level, which is exploring your data. So here you can see you've got a number of different options for you to assess. You can see which period you're trying to value. You can go back and see what are the portfolios. Again, if you want to analyze your data, so this is again a very simple example of 20 policies in the motor business. Your actual data is going to be tens of thousands of policies across multiple lines of business, multiple groups. So this helps you just analyze your portfolios and your data should you need to. Similarly on the groups and so on. Now here again, you can see what it's trying to do. For this particular group, you've got your motor portfolio. This is the onerous group. It's looking at it, and this is currently set to the measurement model, general model. You can very easily switch this to a PAA if you wanted to. So for example, for your premium allocation approach eligibility testing, you can just upload the data into your system, run the calculations under the general model, rerun the calculations on the premium allocation approach, and see the difference between the two. If the difference is immaterial, you can then conclude that you've qualified for the premium allocation approach. So I'll switch this to premium allocation approach because that's what we expect most motor policies to be run under. You can hit save. And then there's a number of other options for you to assess here as well. Now, once that is done, you're happy with the data that's gone in. Again, there's some useful information here. So there's a full data dictionary that we've included. So there's about 1,200 fields in the system for various different calculations. You can look at any field, identify it, click on it. It will tell you what that field is, what is the purpose of that field, how is it going to be used in the measurement model. So again, it's very important for us that you're understanding what you're doing and you understand what the calculation is trying to do. And finally, if I look at the results and what will they look like, so going to disclosures, looking at the 2019 valuation. If you had data for 2018, 2017, or other years, you could look at that as well. Okay, let's just give it a second to load. So this is all cloud-based. None of this is on our PC. This is all running on the cloud-based system. Now here you can see it produces for you your P&L. So it's giving you your insurance revenue, insurance expenses, etc., your finance income, so your discounting. Similarly, you can look at your balance sheet if you would like to. Gives you your insurance contract liabilities. Will give you your contract assets if there is any. And finally, if I show you, which one should I show you? I'll go to the condensed chart for accounts as well, but this is one thing that I did want to show you. So you can clearly see here, you've got your LRC on the left here, you've got your LIC on the right. And if you remember, we had a group of contracts which were onerous and a group of contracts which were non-onerous. And so you can clearly see that there's some contracts where you recognize a loss component, because this is the onerous contract, you're recognizing the loss component, whereas you've got other contracts where you don't have a loss component. And that's sort of going to your LRC, you've got your best estimate liabilities, and your risk adjustment as well. So I just wanted to show you this view. These are all tables that you'll see here. So all of these are different disclosures that the standard requires. The numbers here are direct references to the standard. We don't have anything in reinsurance right now because we didn't upload any reinsurance data. When you run the calculations, you have reinsurance data as well. And finally, what I'll probably show you is, just very quickly, it's going to download. So this is your condensed chart of accounts. Okay. So this output from the system, again, for ease of use, we created the output to be in Excel to show you, and this clearly shows you what are the double entries that are happening. It starts all the way from your opening. It tells you what are the contracts initially recognized during the period, what is the best estimate liability you recognized, the risk adjustment, the CSM, and then going forward, what are the double entries that you made from that point on. So you can see here, for example, this is the unwind of your best estimate liabilities for the period. So you're unwinding this from here, and you're seeing the double entries happening in your income statement. So this is just a summary chart of accounts, which will just give you a bird's eye view of what is the calculation doing at a high level. Again, you can cut this for portfolios, you can cut this for groups, you can look at it as an aggregate for the company, however you want to analyze your data. Okay. Now, so this is again just a summary. I'm conscious of the time, and I do want to leave some time for questions. So I just want to show you maybe one other field. So you'll see here you've got warnings and checks as well. So again, if you're running this on an ongoing basis, you want to just do some runs by yourself. You don't need PwC support. You still have access to the cloud-based solution. You can still upload your data, still run your calculations, and for your own benefit, because PwC will not be checking every time you put in the calculation. We'll be doing it, let's say, for your quarterly reporting or for your annual reporting and so on. If you just want to do some tests yourself to see different aspects, you can check if there's any errors, validation errors that the system is picking up, if there's any warnings that the system gives you. So here, again, you can see it's given us a bunch of warnings. So this is, again, just telling you the warnings here are not meant to be errors. This is just highlighting to you certain things. So I don't know, as an example, you can see here, we didn't enter a bad debt provision when we were assessing the cash flows. So it's just letting you know when you've estimated your cash flows, you're assuming you're getting 100% of your cash flows. Again, just want to make sure that that's correct. And there's a number of other checks, again, just for you to verify. And finally, I've already downloaded some files because this can take slightly longer. You'll see here, once you've completed your full, you've done your run, what you can also do then is, once it loads up, so this is a relatively big file. As I was saying, the system output, it gives you the financial statements and your disclosures, but it also gives you the detailed chart of accounts and the debits and credits. This is the output file. So this is a readable, computer readable output file. So you can use this to upload all the debits and credits to your existing general ledger, should you want to add these entries to your general ledger. Okay, so you can see all the debits and credits are downloaded here in a machine readable format. Okay. And finally, I just downloaded one other file for you as well, and this just shows you. This will just show you, if you were to download your financial statements and disclosures in a in an Excel format, this is all the entries that it will give you. So you can see here, this is the full database that it gives you as a download. This can be given to your auditor. Again, this is just a simplified output. This can be given to your auditor for review. It gives you all the chart of accounts, where the double entries are happening, and all the disclosures. So you've got your P&L, you can download your balance sheet, and all the notes in an Excel format. And this can go as an output for yourself or for your auditors. Okay. I think that was everything which I wanted to demo for the solution. Again, one point to highlight is what you're seeing on the screen here is just the user interface. So again, like I said, we deliberately kept it simple, so you can follow as a company. You can upload data and run your calculations easily. But behind this is a full-blown IFRS 17 software, which for calculation purposes is a full ERP solution that sits behind this overall user interface. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to stop there and just see if you've got any questions. Go ahead.
So all our data will be uploaded on the cloud, and the privacy may not be preserved well. This is the first question. The second question: some of the insurance companies here in Jordan have their own online profit and loss monitoring tool, so that they can monitor all their operations and profit and loss on timely basis, on hourly basis, or daily basis. We want to clarify for us how we use this tool in a seamless data pipeline manner, so that we can integrate our system with yours, and all the results will be fed back into our profit and loss tool.
Okay, understood. Thank you for your questions. So if I answer the first one first, again, just to highlight what we are offering as this solution is not that we are giving you the software. The idea is that the software stays with PwC. You give us the data on our secure portal on the cloud. So our software sits with PwC on a PwC cloud. The system runs the calculations and it gives you the results. Right? So again, just trying to highlight that it's a service that we are providing. To answer your question on whether the software can be run on-premise, that's definitely an option. However, the reason why we've selected the managed service approach, at least for the wider Jordan market, is because, like I said, the software that underpins these calculations is quite a sophisticated ERP solution, which, if it's a standalone implementation that we're doing on-premise at the company, can be relatively costly compared to trying to run this on a cloud for multiple companies. And from a data privacy perspective, we've thought about that as well. So the cloud that we will be using will be in country. So we can set up the solution can be packaged and dropped on any cloud. So whether it's Jordan, whether it's Oman, Qatar, wherever it might be, if there's any data restrictions, we can just shift the software to be on a local cloud. So using your data locally to run your calculations for you.
But do you have any access for it as a vendor for this project? Do you have access for the data on the cloud, regardless of this physical location, whether it is in Jordan or outside Jordan?
I understand.
If you have access,
sure. I understand. So again, from our perspective, we, as you remember, I said we've got a policy level data that gets aggregated into groups. For the purposes of our calculation, the calculation is being done at a group level, and so the access that we have is only to your groups. So as PwC, when we're looking at your data and trying to help you identify any issues, we will only go down to group level because what we don't need to see is policy level data. If that level of data is needed, then we will work with the company to get that information and assess that as well. And your second question about KPIs, again, what I've showed you is the simplified view of P&L, balance sheet, and the disclosures, which is the core of your financial reporting. However, the system again has some inbuilt KPIs that we've identified that companies we expect will use going forward under IFRS 17, and those again can be integrated with your internal purposes as well. Sorry, I'll just come back to you, Sandra, 1 second.
راح نضطر نقطع مش عارف عشان بدهم اي سؤال نقدر ناخذه بالبريكس ممكن او مكان برا. احنا جاهزين نجاوب اي سؤال اسكم، بس لانه we are cautious على الوقت وفي غيرنا وبدنا نحترم وقت غيرنا. فاي حدا عنده سؤال we are ready to answer. طب سريع اقل من دقيقه بليز. سامعين اذا ممكن سريع.
Prices, costs, and mode of licensing. It is per country, per user, according to the money. Just as you can give us an idea of the costs using this as an insurance company. The cost of using this software is it, and the mode of licensing. Is it per user, per country, per pool of country, per pool of customers?
Yeah.
And annual support fees, if any.
Sure. Sorry, I just answered that question. I just wanted to highlight, I put my contact details up, on the screen. Feel free to scan the QR code and you'll have my contact details. If you've got any questions, you can drop me a WhatsApp or email as well if you don't get to answer your questions today. Okay. Would you mind just bringing it on for 1 second so if people want to scan it, they can. And to answer your question, from a licensing perspective, it's not the software that we're licensing again, right? So it's a service per company. And that's so it's dependent on what level of support the company needs that the price is set at. Again, we'll be outside if you wanna ask us any other questions. Thank you.
شكرا.